So about 2 years ago, I got a call that really changed my whole perspective on what chiropractic really was. My brother, he called me. It was a Wednesday night, actually, and we were about to start one of these workshops, and I was one of the doctors that was going to start it. And he called me and he let me know that my nephew was born. And that part was great, but he was not doing so well. When he was born, he was okay, but it was maybe like 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, he was not okay. He turned blue. Like, did you ever hear that? Like, blue baby? He turned blue, couldn't breathe. All the doctors ended up having to rush in. They put like the bag on him to try to get his lungs to reinflate. That didn't work. They ended up having to intubate him. They rushed him down to the NICU and they ran their tests to try to figure out what was going on. Typically, it happens a lot with babies actually, probably more frequently than you would ever imagine it does. And the doctors there are so smart and they have such great testing that they're typically able to figure out what the problem is relatively quickly. Usually it's something where the hemoglobin is too low, or they have a hole in their heart, which is very common. It could be a lung issue, it could be a heart issue. Anyway, it's usually something that they're able to identify and then they fix it. There's usually a pretty quick fix for it. It's like a transfusion, or they actually even give ibuprofen now to close the hole in the heart, which I didn't even know that. So there is a good use for that stuff. And they did all these tests though, so they ran all their testing and they couldn't find anything. So they ran every single test that they could think of to try to figure out what was going on with them, and they couldn't find anything wrong. So when that happens, and I know a lot about this because my daughter, when she was born, she was only a pound when she was born. She was 1 pound. And the doctors that were at the NICU, the nurses, they saved her life. So I really appreciate what these people are able to do. Just in this particular case, they couldn't find anything wrong. When that happens, they bring in specialists and they rerun all the tests because they have a better eye or they've had more experience, so they're able to look at it. They had 4 different specialists for every single condition that they thought it could be, come in and look at that, and they still couldn't find anything wrong. So it's very difficult to obviously treat if you don't know what the problem is. So they told my brother, like, there's not much more that we could do at this point. We need to just observe what's gonna happen and see if he makes it. So I see if he makes it, and he was like, they were like, yeah, we don't know if he's gonna make it. And he called me, because I'm like the only doctor that he knows, and he's like, I asked to go to another hospital. They said that there's not really a point because they have all the same testing at the other hospital, and it's just not, you shouldn't move him right now. But he told me that his oxygen levels, do you know what your normal oxygen levels are supposed to be? Yeah, like 96 or above. His, being intubated, he was at 50.
That's not good.
That's not good. That's really bad, right? So obviously something really, really wrong. And I just asked him, I said, did they run this test, this test, this test? Yes, they ran all of them. They had 4 specialists come in to look at all of them. Can't find anything wrong. He asked me, like, what do I do? So I just told him to send me a picture of him, because as a doctor, you have to actually see the patient to know what to do. He sent me that picture, and he looked really bad. Like, he was blue, and he had red spots all over him, white spots. He was curled up in a ball, and he was shaking. And you know the little live video? You can put your finger on the picture, and then you can see the movement of the picture.
Yeah.
That's how I could see him shaking. And he basically was stuck shaking like this, but the thing that I noticed immediately was that his head and his neck were so rotated to one side and twisted like this that it looked like, you know, like a towel when you wring it out? That's what his neck looked like. There's like rolls twisted. And I was like, Jay, take Cash's head and bring it back toward the center. Like he can't breathe because it's cutting off the circulation or the blood flow to his brain. And they're actually way better about this at some NICUs now. They actually paid a lot of attention to it when my daughter was born. And my brother tried to bring him back towards center, and he's like, I can't move his head. I was on the phone with him. I was like, Jay, take his head and move it back toward the center. Like, I don't care what you, like, you have to move him back toward the center. And he said that as he tried to move him, his whole body would move. So there was no way to actually bring him back. And me, I'm like, gosh, like his neck it's out of alignment. So I was gonna hop on a plane, jump over to Jersey to go try to take care of him. I talked to Dr. Brown, told him I was leaving to go and take care of him. And he kind of talked a little sense to me. He's like, you gotta go find a flight. You might not get there until tomorrow. Like, let's try to find somebody that they can go now. So he called a couple docs. First doc that I called, it was just random doctor next to the hospital. And I said, hey, my nephew's in the hospital, he's really struggling, maybe you could go check him out when you finish. I told him what was going on, and he's like, I'll go now. So we shut down his office. Imagine this, like, say it was 5 o'clock and you were all here, and I was like, sorry guys, reschedule for tomorrow, I gotta go take care of a baby. That's what he did. And he went to the hospital, and he checked, and he snuck into the NICU. He said, tell him Uncle John's coming, because he knew he had to pretend that he was a family member to get into the NICU, and he gave me the phone number, so that way my brother could call. Snuck into the NICU while the nurses weren't looking, checked him, found that his legs were imbalanced, and he was like, look, like, I don't know that this is going to make a difference, but we could try. And he did an adjustment. You know how light the adjustments are that we do. For a baby, it's probably the amount of pressure you use to check to see if maybe like a peach's ripe. That's the amount of pressure that you would use. So my brother says, yes, like please do it. Adjust him, puts that pressure on, and immediately as he put that pressure on, he said his whole body just relaxed. And he said it almost looked like he took a breath. His oxygen level shot up about 5 or 6 points. He checked him again, he balanced out, left him alone, went upstairs, adjusted mom in the hospital bed because she just went through so much. Came back downstairs, checked him every hour till I could get there. I got there within 2 or 3 days. His oxygen levels kept climbing. He got off of the intubator, went to CPAP, high flow, didn't need oxygen anymore, and got out of the NICU. And he's alive. Yeah. So I know that a lot of people come here because their back hurts or their neck hurts, or sometimes it's for something more significant, but most people, what they know about chiropractic is that it helps with neck pain and back pain or headaches, or it might, right? That's majority of people, that's their understanding of what chiropractic is. I know different now, right? And the stories that I've heard through the years and the stories that have been created in this place, I want to share some of those with you, but I more so want you to really understand it so that way you know why these things happen. Because it's not us. We're not doing it as chiropractors. The miracle that happened with Cash, my nephew, it wasn't the chiropractic. It was a miracle that maybe he went and he could do that, but he didn't heal my nephew's body. He cleared the pathways to allow my nephew to breathe. Does that make sense? So everything we're doing with you, we're not healing you. Doctors can't heal you. We can get your body functioning better, and then those symptoms or those conditions, they can go away as a side effect. Because your body's really, really smart, and it knows what it's doing. We just have to make sure that there's no interference, right? And those interferences, they can come in a number of ways. So we're gonna go through what those are, like how to take some action and get your body healthy. So there's gonna be some part of this where you have to do something. Because if I just sit up here and I talk, that's great, but that's not gonna change anything. I wanna help you to understand what you can actually do yourself at home and how you can maybe communicate some of this to other people that you might think need help, so that way they would know what to do themselves. And if you can stick with me, I think that you might really learn something. And if I can give you, I'm not gonna totally change the way that you guys think about health in one 6-hour session. No, I'm just kidding, it's not gonna be 6 hours. More like a half hour. If I could just give you a little pivot point to just think about things different, then you can take off. As a country, we're not doing so good. We are one of the sickest countries in the world. How could we have some of the greatest advances in medical history and some of the best technology on the planet, but everybody's still, like a majority of people are still sick? That might be another workshop. But there's something wrong there, right? Like it does not match up. In this country, we consume more medication than any other country on the planet. That might be a start. I think the way that we look at health has really, really changed. Being healthy is actually normal. And there was this shift at some point in history in America or the United States where that changed, and it was like, being unhealthy we should kind of normalize that. And you've probably noticed that over the years. And that's not good. That's not normal. That's not healthy for anybody. And we wonder why people are sick, and they're obese, and they have heart disease, and they have cancer. There's simple changes that if they were made across an entire population, they could have significant effects. And I can give you a couple of those that you can change for yourself, and you'd be a lot better off. Simply, if you literally just exercised a few times a week for 15 to 20 minutes, that's simple, right? If you drank half your body weight in ounces in water every day, and you got adjusted, say you spread that across the entire population of the United States, do you think there would be less people on medication? Less people with obesity, or cancer, or diabetes? That's the idea of what we're talking about. Simple changes that can make a massive difference when they're actually implemented. So I can talk about all this, but if you don't change something, it's not gonna help. You've already made a commitment to being here, which that's really hard. Like, it's hard to go to a doctor. It's hard to commit to actually doing something to take care of yourself. So I give you guys a lot of credit for actually doing that and for being here, sitting in this workshop. I wonder why the majority of the country is sick. Like, this room should be full. Maybe that's our fault for not having this room full, but it should be full. Because then a lot more people would be healthy, right? The issue that we've identified is that a majority of people think that they are healthy until they're not. So they have health, and then all of a sudden they're sick, right? And then they go to a doctor when they're sick. They don't go to a doctor when they're healthy, the majority of the time. Maybe for annual checkups, but if we're lucky enough to do that. When you're sick, what do you typically get? And you go to the doctor, medicine, right? That's the standard, right? And in this country, it's worse than any other country in the world. We consume 85% of all the drugs manufactured in the world in this country. That's bad.
Big Pharma likes that.
Yeah, it's good at that.
And there are life-saving medications, right? Like, if you have type 1 diabetes, take insulin. Like, you'll die if you don't. Like, I'm not saying that there isn't a time and a place for it, but it's not the answer. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, if you have high blood pressure, you get a high blood pressure pill. If you have a bacterial infection, like you could all tell me, what do you get if you have a bacterial infection? Antibiotics. If you have anxiety, what do you get?
Anxiety.
Anti-anxiety medication. You can't sleep. You get sleep.
Valid.
You see, there's a pill for every single symptom and condition, or shot, or you see, and what that does. If I have high blood pressure and I take a high blood pressure pill, do my numbers change? Like, will it lower my blood pressure if it's too high if I take it?
Should.
Yeah, it'll go down, right? Does that fix the reason why I have blood pressure? No.
Not if you're.
You all know that. It's not rocket science. It's like, you didn't fix the cause. There's still a problem. Maybe we should address that, right? And if you don't, what do you think could happen to the heart years later, right? Or what are the side effects from taking that medication for your whole life? That's the concern, right? Majority of people though, because we don't know this, it's like we jump, we go to the doctor, we're sick, we take the thing that we're supposed to take, and then we feel good again, and then, oh, our numbers are normal, we're healthy, right? What really happened is you went from being sick to not sick. The majority of us never actually get to here. And when you're in that state, sick, not sick, sick, not sick, the one that knows probably the most about science in this room is shaking her head yes. Molecular cell physiologist, right? You're immunocompromised when you're in these states, right? Because your body isn't functioning properly. Do you ever hear what salutogenesis is? Have you ever heard of that?
What's it called?
Salutogenesis. Instead of treating conditions, to us it makes more sense to get the human body to function better. And if you can get the human body to function better, a lot of the symptoms or side effects, they'll actually just go away. So instead of treating those symptoms and conditions, treat the human, the body as a whole, get it functioning better, make sure you're putting the right stuff in it, you're moving it properly, and then those things, they tend to go away. Does that make more sense? And if they don't, and you still needed something, then sure, you have to do what you have to do. But if we're not doing this part first, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Because then you're just covering up
Yeah,
problems.
just masking the issue. Meds just mask it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just masking it. And then over the last couple of years, we saw what can happen to the people that are in these states, right? That are in this immunocompromised state. They're more vulnerable. I don't want you guys to be vulnerable. I don't want your families to be vulnerable. Like, you're in our space now. Like, you guys are, I know that you just met a lot of us, but we have people here that we've taken care of for the last 10 years. Like, these people are like our family. You are like going to become like our family. Like, we want to take care of you in that way. And you know, because you know one of the guys that we take care of. What would you say that we're family?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's real, and we want to take care of you in that way. And we want to teach you the same thing that we would teach your family. I don't want you here, ever. I want you here. So I'm going to tell you everything you need to do to go over there. Sometimes you might not like it, because I'm going to hold you accountable to doing that, and other doctors are too. But we're telling you for a reason, because we want you to be healthy. So, how do we get over there? From here to here.
Diet and exercise.
That's part of it, right? We found it's a decision first, and oh gosh, we've tried so many different ways to get people to make that decision, and the only way, this is the best way. Set some goals, figure out what you actually want. Then you'll know where to go. And I give you the sheets. Let me see. So on the top it says my goals. Immediate, short-term, long-term goals. And what I want you to do, if you don't remember, just hear me on this, please. You're committing a lot of time and a lot of energy to be here for this care. I want you to know what your goals are. So if you don't know what they are, they're the ones that we set on the first day, bring the sheet in on your next visit. I want, this is the most important thing that we're gonna talk about, is what you actually want out of this. So if you don't remember what we talked about, ask us, like, bring the sheet in and let's fill it out together. And if it's changed because you guys understand a little bit more now, if those goals, yeah.
Depends on a lot.
This needs an adjustment. You guys can keep the pens too. If the goals have changed since you started care, tell us, because we want to update them. They go into your file, we look at them every day that you're here. I see your goals. So if you want to work on something, tell us. We have patients that wanted to run this woman, she could barely walk, and she used to run 5Ks. We're like, long-term goal, let's get you running 5Ks. And she's like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to run a 5K and I can barely walk. Write it down. It's a long-term goal. Maybe we'll do it one day. The doctors ran a 5K with her. We all did it with her. So we actually told her about the 5K, set it up, and then went and ran it with her. We had a patient that wanted to play pickleball. I did a foam rolling class at a pickleball center, set it up, invited her to that, asked them if I could reserve the court for an hour after, so that way I could make her play pickleball. So we will figure out a way to get you to meet your goals. So please, like, take some care in what you write and what you communicate to us, like that you actually want. And if you don't have the sheet, we can always do it. We can always do it on the computer with you. All right?
I like that.
Cool. All right. Everybody got their goals laid out?
Sure.
Great. And you can keep working on that if you are, okay? And typically it's going to be an immediate goal, relates to pain, the thing you came here for. Short term might be day-to-day things. Like, some people can't work, some people can't do their hair, or sleep, or play with their kids. Long term might be something like running the 5K, or playing pickleball, or doing something that you love that maybe you don't do anymore. Fishing, yes, that's awesome. Cool. Agree with that. It's already in your goals, so. And share them with people too. One of the best ways to meet your goals is to have somebody hold you accountable. We're gonna hold you accountable, but if you can tell your family too, this is something that you want to do, it might help.
That's what I want to keep doing.
Awesome.
That's from June.
Yeah, that's from June.
El Salvador, yeah.
That's awesome. I surf like,
You do?
as often as there's waves.
Well, that's what sucks about Florida.
Right, yeah, I mean, something like that, like surfing, or like, I love to spearfish, I love playing pickleball, I love surfing, and I want to keep doing those things for the rest of my life. Like, that's my goal. I want to be 90 something and doing that. So
Yeah.
that's, so I'm sure we're on the same page. That might be the goal, right?
Yep.
So if we want to understand how to achieve health, we have to go back to the beginning and understand where it actually comes from. We do words and sounds. So you have, I'll get to it, I promise. You have an embryo or a baby that's formed in 9 months, right? Living, breathing, pooping baby, 9 months. It's amazing, right? And it comes from 2 cells that, well, 2 cells that come together that create a cell that divides. And then that cell divides and divides and divides until you have a cluster of cells. So that's kind of like a raspberry. And then that raspberry is actually kind of like stem cells. Okay? And has everybody heard of stem cells? They know what they do. They can kind of turn into different organs and tissues, and bone or heart or lung, right? And you have an organ system that's formed first. Can you guess what it is? First organ to be formed in the body? Your heart. So a lot of people think it's the heart because this is the first thing that you see on there. Any other guesses? Nervous system.
Yeah.
So it's it's called a primary neural fold. It slides right down the back of those cells. And then you have actually a little nerve that goes to each one of those cells. And does this bring you back to embryology? So these
I
nerve.
studied it too. I'm a dentist. So.
Oh, gotcha. So you studied those. So the nerve endings, they'll go to that cell, and then basically those nerve endings are how those cells are, I guess, told what to become.
Different
Right.
dish.
Yeah. what did you say?
Differentiation.
Differentiation, yeah. So one cell might be like, you're gonna be the heart or the cardiovascular system. You go over here, you go up to the left, and you divide over here, and you're gonna be a heart. And this cell, you're gonna be a liver. You go over here, you stay here, you don't move, you stay here, you don't mix with the heart. You stay where you're supposed to. And the nervous system, or the spinal cord and the nerves and the brain, that's actually what communicates to the cells to tell it to do all those things and how to replicate and what to become, which is amazing. It is. It's a miracle. A miracle of life, right? And you have, when it's all said and done, there's like a whole human body. Can everybody hold up their hands? I know this is silly, but it's gonna help you remember it. For the people that didn't have the embryology classes. None of your fingers are like, one's not way long, right? Can you touch your nose? Is everybody's nose in the center of their face? Which is not on the back of your head. Like, there's organization to this thing, right? There's an intelligence that's in your body. It's smart. There's an inner innate, we call it innate wisdom in your body. It's real. It's not some far off mystical crazy thing. It's there. Earth and science, right? There's an intelligence in the universe, right? That keeps that the sun is there and then the planets swirl around that and they don't crash into each other. Like the planets, they have like an organization to them. We breathe off CO2, carbon dioxide, right? And then the trees, they're able to breathe that in and absorb that and then use it to create life in that tree. And then they can give us oxygen, right? There's a wisdom or intelligence in the universe, and there's a wisdom intelligence inside your body. Out there, it's called like universal intelligence. In here, it's called innate intelligence. Some people just call that God. Whatever it is to you, that's not for me to decide. But whatever it is, it's real. And it's amazing. And you all have it inside you. It doesn't go anywhere. Like you still have it inside of you. That inner wisdom that created your body from 2 cells is still in there. You think you could fix high blood pressure? Think you could fix your back pain? Or your neck pain? Or get a kid to stop having seizures? So we've seen that. Those are the amazing things that we get to see when the body starts functioning well. Not the adjustment. Adjustment doesn't fix it. The body functioning at a higher level is what fixes the problem. That makes sense? The system that we just talked about that created your body and told everything how to work, somebody who's smart, surrounded with bones, that way it's protected, right? Now if you have this protective mechanism around the bone, you want to make sure that it's in proper position and that those bones aren't potentially like out of position and putting stress on those nerves. Because if they put stress on those nerves, is there better or worse communication to those organs? Worse. If there's pressure on nerves, do you think that's more pain or less pain? More pain. If there's dysfunction to that organ or organ system or that muscle, what do you think will happen to that organ? Disease. Decreased cellular function, right? So long term, yes, disease. First, it's just not sending proper signal. Then maybe the cells aren't replicating properly or the organ's not functioning at 100%. The weight of a dime on a nerve will decrease the function of that organ by 30%. So now you only got 70% function in that organ. Isn't that crazy? So now, have an organ function at 70% for 20, 30 years, now you have disease. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? Yeah, it's crazy, right? And most people don't know anything about this because no one's ever told them. That's part of the reason why I'm standing up here doing this, right? When these bones go out of alignment, they put the stress on those nerves, and you can actually see it visibly with X-ray. And there's like a couple other factors to it. I'm not going to dive into the science of subluxation, but you have physical stress on a nerve, and it can't communicate properly. We call that a subluxation. There's a little line for that right right there. It says blank is the condition of the spine that affects the nervous system. It's called subluxation. Sub means less, lux means light or energy. That's a conduction of electricity through those nerves. Ation is a condition of. So it's a condition of less energy or light flowing through those nerves. And if you have misalignments, so say this nerve goes to the heart, and I put weight of a dime on that nerve, does the heart work better or worse? Worse. Long term, we already said what that could create, right? Disease. So you could die from misalignments in your spine. Long term, yes. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's the significance of this. If we can remove that stress, what do you think happens? It's stops getting worse first. It gets better, yes, but with time. It stops getting worse. Like there's a train just barreling down the tracks the wrong way. First, you just got to slow the thing down, eventually get it to stop, and then you can start to push it in the other direction. If we can get the stress off, we can slow down the damage that's accumulating in the organs and in the muscles and in the tissue of your body that's creating the pain or creating the dysfunction. And then these signals can get through, and then these things can start to work better. And you can see that, right? If you have a misalignment, we said up here, could affect the heart. If I misalign this one, do you see this nerve right here? See how it goes to a lot of, everything? If you have misalignment up here, what do you think it could affect? The whole system, yeah. Could it create a hangnail? No. So there's things that are limited by this, definitely. Like you don't have a left lung, you're not regrowing the left lung by getting adjusted. If your leg's falling off, and you're bleeding, like go to the hospital. Don't come. I can't adjust your leg back on. There's limitations in what we do, but this system, it could literally, by having stress on there, affect the entire system. What conditions could that create? So do people actually have that condition, or maybe do they have a misalignment? I don't know. I haven't x-rayed them, right? But the only way to know is actually to take an x-ray. That's how you can see. Does that make sense? And then, not even, like, that's the organ part of it. Think about the knees and the hips and the joints and the back and the elbows. Like, oh, God, like, how do you can't,
That's a
you could, what's that?
sciatic pain.
Yeah, and it hurts, right? You could live your life like this, the whole thing, but something's gonna wear out eventually. And these knees wear out, they can replace them now, and they can replace the hips, and they can do shoulder replacements now, you can get spinal surgeries, and like, people that are having that stuff done, they're not living their life to the fullest. They're not surfing the way that they want to, they're not doing the things that they want to do, right? So if we could prevent that from happening, that would be better. Say there's two people, one person gets misaligned at birth, my nephew, never gets adjusted. Maybe my nephew's like a very extreme example of that. Somebody gets misaligned at birth, maybe it's not as severe as when my nephew was out of alignment. They go through their whole lives like this. Different scenario. Baby's checked at birth, baby's adjusted, checked periodically throughout their whole life. Probably checked like once a month at one point, or maybe even less than that. Like quarterly checks, kind of like a dentist, just to make sure that everything's working the way that it's supposed to and things aren't breaking down, right? And then that person's checked from the time that they're born to the time that they pass. Which one's sicker, right? What if you can multiply that by the entire population in the United States? Less medication. Do you think there'd be more or less heart disease? More or less knee replacements, right? Like that's the big idea of what chiropractic really is. So that's the whole idea behind what we're doing, is to educate and teach you guys, like, if you can keep that alignment, and you can do that for yourselves, and you can do that for your families, and do what you care about, they're gonna be healthy. there are 3 things that are basically required of you guys. I wish I could do, I really actually do, because it would probably be easier to just do all this for you guys, but I can't. You're not here long enough, and I don't have enough capacity, and neither do the doctors, to do all this for you. So, these 3 things, they're required for you to be a patient here. So, I know you committed to them on the first day. This would be your recommitment to doing these things. I don't want to get to your first re-exam and ask you to grade yourself, which I'm going to, or one of the other doctors is going to say, grade yourself, A through F on getting here for your adjustments. I don't want you to say C or D. I want you to say A across the board. So, the top one, can somebody read it for me?
Adjustments and rhythm.
Okay. So that means if you're set for twice a week, that means be here twice a week. If you're set for 3 times a week, that means be here 3 times a week. It's part of the deal. That's how we're actually going to help you. There's a reason for why you're set for 3 times a week. Be here. So that way you can get help. It's not for us. You're already here. We just got to help you to achieve that. Sure, things come up and you have to make little tweaks on your schedule. That's okay. Don't give these girls a hard time. Like, get here for your appointments when you're supposed to be here. It's for you, not for us, right? That's how you're going to get help, is being here consistently, because it's actually what your body needs to heal, right? Because if you're spending, we've had people in the past ask, like, say they were set for a twice a week program, they're like, I can do once, like, let's just do once. It's like, that, I wish that would work, but if you're adjusted, say you're set up for twice a week, the reason you're set for twice a week is probably because you're only going to hold an alignment for 48 to 72 hours. Does that make sense? So if you're adjusted on Monday, you're in alignment till about Wednesday, Thursday, you're adjusted again. You're in alignment till about Saturday, Sunday, slipping out. Now Monday you're adjusted again. You're spending the majority of the time in alignment for the week, which do that for 4 months, you're going to heal. If you do once, you would spend a majority of the week out of alignment. Do you see how that wouldn't work? So the consistency or that rhythm is really important, so that way you're staying in alignment. And the exercises are huge help with that. I know you haven't gotten those yet, but the exercises, it's like your body, we're gonna get your body into the right place, but we have to strengthen the muscles in that new position, so that way your body will accept the alignment and start to stay. We want you to hold. That way you don't have to be here as often. And the better you are with the consistency, doing the exercises, and then not messing up our work when you leave here, that is really gonna help. So commit to being here, doing the exercises, and then making sure we're breaking the bad habits. And I'm gonna go through a couple of those so you can see what they actually are, but you might have already started to identify what some of those are. Maybe it's the phone, maybe it's the way you sit on the couch, maybe it's the way that you sit. That could put you in a stressful position. The computer height, so we're gonna talk about a couple of those. Bad habits also could be maybe not drinking enough water, right? Putting unhealthy things into your body, right? Stopping at a fast food place on the way home instead of waiting and eating something at home, right? So we can, and just to hit this real quick, I think you guys hit the point, but of this diagram, but if you get here for every single adjustment on time, like, and you're here consistently, and you're doing everything you can to break the bad habits, but you're not doing the exercises, do you fall in the middle? We fall out here. Is that the results or the hitting the goals? No. If you are really consistent with your adjustments, but you're really good at doing your exercises and you broke every single bad habit, you still don't fall in the middle. Does that make sense? So we want you to fall in the middle, and the way that we do that is hitting all 3 of these. Are you getting a picture of it?
No.
No.
Okay.
Just check.
Gotta respond to this.
You're looking at, you're keeping your posture. I like the way you're holding.
I'm trying. I could
People
probably
think you're
taught me that.
People may think you're taking a picture of them when you're holding your phone up, but better off because you're actually paying attention to your posture. So there are 3 types of ways that you can go out of alignment. On there, you're going to see stressors. There's 3 T's. The 3 T's they're on your sheet. And I want you to write in, it's called thoughts, traumas, toxins. Thoughts, traumas, toxins. Has anybody ever been so stressed that they can feel it in their body? Yes.
Never.
No, ever. It's real. Like mental stress can create physical manifestations into the body. 100%. And we've all felt it. You don't need a research article to prove that. You can feel it. And there are research articles. So we have a lot of chronic stress, like unnatural stress in our world now, right? Emails and text messages and alerts from Uber Eats and Robinhood at 3 in the morning. It's like those aren't natural. You're supposed to be sleeping and your phone's going off, or you wake up in the morning and you've got 20 emails. Like, you want a quick one? And I want you to bring changes that you're going to make. This is not me set up here. I'm going to ask you, or the doctor's going to ask you next time, what are you changing? So you may write a couple things down that you are going to change. Does anybody use sleep mode on their phone?
I have.
Super simple
Silent.
way to do
I just
it.
keep it on silent.
Yeah, put it, when you go to sleep, you can set your sleep settings, so like if you had an emergency call from someone that they can go through. But you can put the sleep setting on, when you wake up in the morning, you don't have a bunch of alerts telling you about the news and the emails that you got and the text messages that were sent through and all that. You would just have a blank screen and what time it was, so that way you could dictate.
And I use one on mine, I also use, it tells me, I have a target amount of time that I want to sleep,
Yeah.
so that the alarm is set for you, you remind me, a deadline.
Awesome. Yeah. So super simple. Use it. Like hit the sleep button, then you won't wake up to trauma in the morning. Right? Literally. Physical stress. I think we understand how that can happen. We drive around 2,000-pound cars and we smash them into each other. That's a trauma. That could create misalignment, right? Emotional stress could create misalignment. Car crashes. It doesn't always have to be that. Anybody ever rode on a roller coaster? You think that could create a subluxation?
Yes.
When you're a kid and you run around, my daughter, she hit her head so hard on the xylophone the other day. She fell off. She was just jumping on this little like couch thing we had, and she slipped off and she whacked her head on the xylophone, cut her head here. She had a big lump on her head. Literally the next day, she's on a skateboard and she just whack hits the same exact spot that she hit the other day. Kids can go out of alignment, right? So this can happen early on. Birthing process could create misalignments. Phones, computers, like this position for hours and hours a day. Pay attention to kids at school or like people that you see out, they're gonna be like this. Do you remember where these nerves go to? I pointed at it on the diagram. Does this make my heart work better or worse? You know what the #1 killer of Americans is? I don't know if there's a research article on that one.
What they tell us
I don't
in
know.
the
Yeah.
commercials.
Yeah, right? I mean, gosh, could it make your heart healthier? Could it make your whole body healthier just holding your phone up? Simple, but maybe that's the change, right? Chemical stresses, I mean, people have said this probably before around you that everything causes cancer. A lot of it does, actually. There's soaps and a lot of sunscreen causes cancer. Like there's sodium benzoate in sunscreen, that's benzene, that causes cancer. So there's alternatives, like there's mineral sunscreens that don't have chemicals in it that are carcinogens that heat up in the sun.
Like zinc.
Yeah, zinc and all those ones are really, really good. If you ever need help with anything like this, just ask. Right? There's soaps that you can put onto your body. Like I used to say, there's probably some sort of chemical on my shirt that my wife used to make my shirt smell nice, but my shirt just smells, I mean, it smells bad. But I don't have like fancy perfumes on it anymore because we use something that's a little bit more natural, right? The soaps that you put on your body or the deodorant that you use, like, does it have aluminum in it or doesn't it? And what are you eating? Like, if you can't read what the thing says, you probably should not eat it, right? It says,
You can't pronounce it, don't eat it.
I had this woman, she used to say, if you can't read it, don't eat it.
If you can't compost
That's
it,
awesome.
don't eat it.
Yeah, so think about what you're putting into your body. If it's on a box or a bag and it says maltodextrohydrocortisone something, cancer. Probably. Not for sure. But if it's chemical, it's probably not good for your body, right? Try to eat things that are more natural for your body. We have a bunch of gut health and nutrition workshops and all that, so come to those so you can learn about that stuff too. I don't have all the time to get into the specifics of each one of these, but come to them. So maybe those are some things that to work on. And again, if there was something in there that you wanted to change, please write it down. Like write change and then write the things that you're gonna do. Maybe it's drinking half your body weight in ounces. Maybe it's not eating anything that you can't read. Maybe it's changing the soap. Maybe it's putting the sleep timer on. Whatever it is, just write them down, bring them to the doctor. This is what I'm changing. I don't care if it's one thing or 10 things, but I want you to pick something. I would rather it be realistically, because I've done a lot of seminars and I've had to implement these things. Realistically, you could probably handle 3. You're not really going to be able to handle more than 3 changes. Some people can, but I would try to stick to around that 3 mark. That's what we do anyway when we go to seminars. We already talked about all this. Sleep positions, slouching positions, right? Like chairs are designed now, those chairs are designed to scoot your bottom all the way back in the chair and then sit up. There's a lumbar support on those chairs. Majority of chairs are designed that way. If you're on the couch, same thing. Try to scoot all the way back. You can't reach the back, put a pillow. Same thing in the car. Watch your position when you're in the car. Watch your position when you're on the phone. I don't even need to go through every single one of them. Just me talking about this, you're going to be more aware. And then you're gonna identify what the thing is that you're doing that was a bad habit. And you'll probably figure it out on the way home or when you get to your house, you'll figure out what that thing was. Bring it to us. Tell us what you're gonna change so we know you're working on this stuff. These are some examples. Zoe, close your eyes. These are ways that you can go out of line. Right? I used to do this with my brother. We did it with boogie boards. We would just like fly down the stairs. I got a concussion one time doing that. So
Explains a lot.
this is how, yeah, that's why I just but these are the ways that we can go out of alignment. Sleep position. You sleep sometimes. You sleep from like 6 to 8 hours. That's a long time to be in a bad position. Anybody sleep on their stomach? Good. Thank you. Yeah. Kids sometimes like gotta transition. They need to transition out of that. But back or side is really the best. Neutral position of your head. You don't want to be stuck for 8 hours on your stomach like this. That's not going to be good for your neck or for your back. Falling asleep on the couch, sure, maybe not like that. Right? This is the worst though. It's really sad because over the next, I would say 10, 15 years, we're going to see the worst cases of cervical spine conditions that we've ever seen. And it's going to be in kids that are younger and younger and younger. Because we see kids that are 12, 13, 14 years old, they have bone spurs in their neck. Because of, why do you think they do? Yeah, from this all day. It's like, what's going to happen? Your body's not meant to do that. You're supposed to have natural curves in your spine that we talked about. That's not going to help. So try to be in a neutral position when you're sleeping, right? Not too high, not too low. We talked about the chair, phone, computer, car. And I think
Can you go back to the car
I want to make
position?
sense of this.
back to the
Yeah,
cost.
sure. I think what that's showing is
Oh, okay.
that a lot of people kind of lean forward out of that chair and put their head forward as opposed to like having that support on their back. If you have those lumbar supports in the car where you can push the button and it'll
Yeah.
inflate, try to use those. Put it kind of lower towards your spine so it actually gives you a little bit of a curvature to your back. This is showing if your bottom's out of that groove there, you all have them in the chair. You can scoot your bottom into that. That's actually going to help with the alignment. You can see how much stress that puts on the neck. And then, yeah, with the computers, it's really, you want to get them eye level. The majority of the screens in here that we use, we're a little bit taller sometimes than the other people that are here, so we had to keep that in mind. But we have them all so we can stand and be about eye level, or when we're sitting, we're eye level. So try to pay attention to that, so that we're not creating more damage. We already talked about this, but just something that we talked about change, and then just tell us what it is. All right. But nothing changes unless you change something. Majority of you are in this phase right here. There was a problem, and your body couldn't adapt to that problem, and it perpetuated over years and years and years. Do you remember if you're in like a phase 1? Do you remember these, talking about this? If you're in a phase 1, it takes about, you'll stay in that phase for about 15 years, and then you'll go into a phase 2. So if you're in like a phase 2, it takes time to get out of there. If you remember the phase 3, like we can really manage those problems. Sometimes we can help, but it's really like you want to catch it before it gets that bad, right? If we were looking at the time it takes to correct the problems of the spine, does anybody remember? This is a while ago, so I don't know if you guys remember this. Do you remember how long it takes to correct the phase 1?
Maybe a year or 8 months.
Yep, 6 to 12 months, so a year. What about phase 2? You guys remember that?
I'm just thinking about 18 to 3 years.
Yep, so right around that mark. So about 1 to 3 years, right, to actually correct that problem. Nothing to do with me, nothing to do with you. That is the way that the human body heals from these problems. That's it. Majority of you were only focused on this first 4 months. Some of you it's a little bit longer or shorter, just depending, but typically it's right around that mark for the initial intensive part of your program. As we're going through this, we want you to kind of stay on that line. What do you think would make you drop down to here?
Doing bad habits.
Not breaking bad habits,
Missed appointments.
missed appointments, right? And then we end up here, and then that's very difficult, right? But if you can be on that line, when we get to this point, you have a choice, right? We have what the best recommendation for you is right here. That's on the black line. You're all going to get a chance to make that decision on here. If you want to stay on the black line, whatever you choose is what you choose. Like, we can only tell you what the best thing is, and whatever option you choose, we're fully with you. Like, we're okay with that as long as you understand the consequences of doing the right thing, which are a good thing, and the consequences of doing maybe something that's not as good for you. As long as you get it and you understand what that means, we're okay with whatever decision you make, because it's your health. Doctors can't make decisions for you. You can only do that yourself. Black line's the best recommendation. This is called maintenance care. Some people get really good results and they're just like, I feel good. But a lot of changes have happened on my x-ray and I just want to stay where I'm at and I don't want to go back. That's the maintenance care, or you can quit. And if you quit, what do you think will happen? Go back, right? And then we get to make those decisions as we go. And whatever you decide, at the end is what you decide. We just want you to have an educated decision so you know what you're deciding on. Does that make sense? I would really, really encourage you to maybe put these up on the refrigerator or somewhere where you can see it, if you want. Does anybody do vision boards? Yeah. maybe whatever your health goal is, or maybe it's just a long-term goal, but put it somewhere so you can see it every day. That way you can look at it and have something that you're working toward. And as I went through this, like I told you, I wanted you to have the ability to communicate this to other people too. Because you will come across the people that are sitting like this on their phone, or their neck hurts or their back hurts, and now you know more about what that actually means. Does that make sense? Like, neck pain could mean that there's stress on the nerves that go to their heart, and their heart might not function properly, and they could have disease in their heart after. That's a whole different level. Somebody says, my neck hurts, that's not the end of the story. And you guys know that better than anyone else now. So, help people, right? Like if you care about them, not for me, not for this office, for them, and so they can understand it. And if the people that you care about, really share it with them, because gosh, if they can get help before it gets bad enough, there's so much that can be done. There's a sheet on the back there. There's 5 spots there. I would really like if you could do this, and it's not for me, it's for these people. I want you to write 5 names. Could be my mom, could be my dad, could be my neighbor, whatever it is. But I want you to write 5 names. Can everybody do that? 5 names? Everybody know 5 people? No, don't know 5 people. Your team's probably bigger than 5. So you write 5 people down. These aren't for me. They're for you to like reach out to these people and just tell them something that you learned about tonight. Could be the heart thing. Could be maybe it's not eating out of boxes of bags. Whatever the thing is, just share something that you learned about, so that way this workshop with 1, 2, like 6, 7 people turns into 30, 40 people understanding something about the human body. And what I want you to do is, once you're done writing the 5 people in, circle one of them, the one that you really think would need it kind of the most, or need to know the most about it. So you're gonna circle them when you get done with that 5. And what we're gonna do is that visit for that person that you circle, they receive a checkup in our office. Just I can't do it for 40 people, but I can do it for 6 or 7. So when their name is circled, they receive the checkup in our office. Instead of it being $400, that's the typical checkup in our office. It's $79 for the whole thing. So circle that person that you want. If these people live in other places in the world, or other states or somewhere, right where they live, there's a spot that says phone or number or something. Oh, they have 10 spaces. In some of them, if you want to write 10, you can. The phone number, you could just write where they live. Write the city or the state where they live, and I'll try to find them somebody that can help them. We have a huge network of chiropractors all over the country, even in other countries. So if you write where they live, on your next visit, I'll actually have somebody for you that could potentially help them. And if other people wanted help too, I'm sure they could set up a time to come in if they really wanted to. It's more so for you guys to reach out to them. And on your way out, just make sure you hand those sheets to Jordan. There's one more spot on there, you guys see. It says something about like schools or organizations. We've made a commitment. It's close to, I want to say 20, it's probably close to 10 hours a month that we do of community service. So we've dedicated the time to do this throughout the community. So we do talks in the community to kind of educate people or teach them about health. So if you have like a school or an organization or a workplace or something where you would want us to do this, maybe you could help us actually fulfill that 10 hours or 20 hours. If you wanted us to come speak somewhere at an organization or a church or whatever it is, circle yes on that, and then we can figure out what that was, and if you have what the organization is, you're welcome to write what that is. But we can set up a time and we can come in and educate. We do it complimentary like this as part of just our community service to the community. So thank you guys so much for being here and committing to doing this for your health. So I will see most of you later in the week or tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Thank you guys, appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Thank you, yeah, that's fine. And you guys can go to Jordan up at the front, all right?
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
very
of course,
informative.
thank you.
We've got a bunch you guys could have.
All right, see you. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Have fun.
That training,
Yeah, great.
that'd be back on the.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, keep me in shape.